So hello and welcome to the Accenture Evolving Ecosystem podcast. I'm very happy to be joined here today by Sushmita Munshi, the head of ManulifeMOVE, a flagship program that is a perfect example of the transformative innovations that we're here to explore today. MOVE has seen massive growth in popularity across its 5 Asia-Pacific markets since it launched 5 years ago in 2015. It has been at the forefront of the transformative trend of behavioral insurance. It not only integrates activity tracking and insurance solutions to motivate customers to become healthier, but it also provides access to an ecosystem of services that supports customers to take it to the next step in achieving better health. In leading this pioneering effort and developing a completely novel proposition within a large organization, Sushmita is here today as our guest, and she's ideally placed to share some more fascinating insights into this journey. So Sushmita, first, can you explain to us a bit more about behavioral insurance and how does that relate to ManulifeMOVE and links into the whole connected ecosystem in general, healthcare ecosystem in general?
Thanks, Shirley, for having me here today. Behavioral insurance is insurance that encourages our customers to stay healthy. We do that by providing them rewards, insights, and support. ManulifeMOVE is our flagship homegrown behavioral insurance proposition here in Asia. It's one of the 3 propositions that we run across our 3 geographies in Asia, the US, and Canada. Healthcare ecosystems, if you look at the continuum, it typically comprises of ecosystem partners across wellness, fitness, and at point of illness. Traditionally, insurers have focused at point of illness, where the moment someone sends in a pre-approval for a claim, that's when you kind of start providing them services for a better experience, both at the point of treatment, post-treatment, and post-operative care. Behavioral insurance is really in the wellness and fitness space. We work towards helping our customers make better lifestyle choices and thus keeping them healthy so that they don't get to the point of illness.
That's a really good, explanation of the whole concept of getting into the preventive space before you actually get sick, right? So Manulife launched MOVE in 2015 across, 5 markets in Asia Pacific. Could you share a little bit more about that journey and, what are the 5 markets?
You're right. We launched MOVE in 2015, first in Hong Kong, and quickly expanded the franchisee into the Philippines, China, Singapore, Vietnam, and more recently in Cambodia, where we have a Move for All proposition, which can be used both by our customers and members of the public. The journey in the last 5 years has been an interesting one. We were lucky to have senior management endorsement for this because there was clear understanding that behavioral insurance is going to be a significant differentiator. The philosophy at Manulife for behavioral insurance is pegged on a 3-way win. For our customers, by helping them make better, healthier choices, we hope our customers have longer, healthier lives. For Manulife, we are hoping to pay fewer claims. And for society at large, by keeping people healthier, we will spend less on healthcare. That's making every day better, and that's our philosophy.
And actually that's interesting because it brings me to my next question, right? One would presume that the ManulifeMOVE would be typically targeted towards a younger demographic, with a certain focus and concern on the health side. But, with all of these, have you seen something different and based on the data that you've gathered, on the insights on the demographics that you're consuming MOVE?
So when we first launched MOVE in 2015, it was clearly aimed at a younger demographic. If you look at our TVCs and our marketing collateral from the early days, it was all about young youth, wearing a device, lots of running. It was just aimed at a younger demographic. However, in the 5 years, there's been some interesting shifts. If we look at usage patterns of MOVE, what's insightful is that you buy one of our products, you get MOVE, and you activate. But the people who actually stick on and make those conscious changes to their habits is actually an older demographic. It's typically someone who has either had a life event or, you've had a child or there's been some trigger, a parent has fallen ill, and you've realized that your health is precious and you actually need to work hard to keep yourself healthy.
Yeah, that's I think that's a growing realization when you probably have gone past your 20s and 30s, and you realize when you have a kid, and everything, health is one of the most precious things that money can't always necessarily buy, right? And I think the beauty about Move as well, it's also available in a way free of charge. You can download the app and use it to track your steps and all of that stuff, right? Which also brings me to my next question with regards to innovation, right? Because I think, as we can see, as you mentioned, in the past few years, the trend towards people really taking care, or not say trend, but the behavioral and macro change of people taking care of their health also means there's a lot more innovation in this space, right? How do you see these trends evolving in the next 5 to 10 years, right? And especially in the context of what your peers are doing out in the market, how would Manulife differentiate itself in this space?
I think what's really happening right now is people are just getting more aware about their health, and elements or indices that you could only measure if you went into a clinic or a doctor, you can now kind of measure daily. That means you just have a much more aware population who would be going in to get health services just a lot more aware, which means it's not going to really be about basic diagnosis, but diagnosis is just going to become different in nature. It's going to be about looking at data over a longitudinal period instead of basing it off a snapshot of the temperature taken at the doctor's office. That's definitely changing. What does that really mean for us insurers is that consumers are likely to want products that are more tailor-made for you. So instead of having very broad products with assumptions of a very wide cohort, people are going to expect products which are more focused on their needs or for people like them, which means we will just be seeing more specialized, tighter products. And you already see early experiments in that space.
Yes. So that's a very good point, because it seeks very nicely, I guess, into the next set of questions I want to talk about with regards to data, right? And I guess the power of data and the value of data that we have today out there in the ecosystems and with the solutions, right? And going back, I guess, from a behavioral insurance perspective, right? One important motivators for people to change their behaviors and their habits over time is all these micro changes to encourage people to move more, be more active and everything, exercising, becoming healthier, and therefore benefiting from a reduced premiums and all of that, and ultimately, hopefully, having less of a need to use the healthcare facilities in the market, be it public or private, right? In the 5 years that's been launched to all the markets that you mentioned before in APAC, right? Have you been able to see how this data that's been collected, how have the changes happened, and the scale of the change, exercising a bit more and all of that?
We do see behavioral changes, but are those changes big enough for us to be able to make alterations to our mortality and morbidity assumptions? Maybe not. I think those are still early days. What we do see is that the average customer of Move is a lot more engaged. We see people who started off with a few thousand steps are walking more right now. They're more participating more in our challenges, and they're consuming a lot of the content that we are serving up to them, which means there is improved intent and action to follow that up across the customer base.
And engagement as well, right? Because people see the value of that, and they're really, putting it out there with the solution so that they can actually see and monitor their habits and everything. So that's why we believe that data is really at the heart of the whole ecosystem. And there's also been a range of issues out there with regards to how people's personal data are used and stored and even analyzed, right? Especially when it comes now with regards to health information. So, could you share your thoughts on this subject matter?
Customer data is probably the most important asset that we have, and managing it, storing it, and if we decide to share it with utmost care, is possibly the most important priority for us. We follow a simple set of rules. If we do need to collect the data, ask the customer, we're going to be collecting this, tell them why, tell them how we are storing it, and if we do share it, why we are sharing it, and clearly get endorsement from customers to be doing it for these questions before you move forward. We worked hard to ensure when we have a partner on board, we only share data with them that they really need, and in 100% of cases, a lot of the data is anonymized. It's not specific to a customer, but it's at a cohort level. So it's impossible for someone to understand a certain indices can be traced back to a specific customer.
That brings me to my next set of questions, I guess, which is around selection of your ecosystem partners, because I think as we can see from the health and wellness ecosystem, really the kind of how do you get into the fabric of society? How are you there with your customers to be at the forefront when they're thinking of health and wellness, right? So could you share a bit more of how Move has approached its development of its health ecosystems to support your consumer needs?
Typically, right up front, we have about 3 key areas in which we would, seek partners. Yeah. The first one is about reach or distribution. Who are the partners who are going to help us get to people who we would not be able to get to through our existing distribution channels. So the second one is really around product and engagement. Are there partners who can enrich and complement our product or drive engagement? End of the day, we are an insurance firm. Customers don't really want to engage with insurers day in, day out. However, they do work out every day. They do take transportation every day. People do get a coffee and eat food every day. And the final set of partners are typically operational partners. There are certain areas of operations where we don't have muscle for, so we would bring in partners to help us provide that service.
Yes, I kind of, it's similar, I wouldn't say like a marriage partnership in a way, but it's really like what each party brings to the table so that, the sum of the two is bigger than, individually what each of them can bring in. So, speaking of the partnerships and based on your experience forming these partnerships and having these kind of conversations, right? Could you summarize the business impact that Move has had on Manulife?
We measure success both in about 3 different categories. One is just how many customers we are reaching to. The customers that we are reaching, is it a financially viable relationship for us? And finally, are these customers getting any healthier? In a nutshell, we have about 1 million customers on the platform today, which is a big win for us and health benefit for our customers.
Yeah, I would see it as a win-win, right? Because you're helping your consumers and your customers to become healthier and be more aware and understand and, educating them and giving them the services that they need to lead a healthier life. And I think as we know, health is wealth, right, in a way, and it's even with money, it's not something that you can buy. So sadly, that's all the time that we have here today. I'd like to thank you, Sushmita, for taking time off your busy schedule to come and speak to us and our audience today. It's much appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
So I hope you will all join us in our next Accenture Evolving Ecosystem podcast. And thank you for listening. Goodbye.